Hello and welcome to this MSP Voice webinar brought to you by MSP 360, the #1 MSP cloud backup. Happy to be here today. We've got a great presentation by Jamie Warner of Invarosoft. Before that begins, if you have questions, please utilize the Q&A. You can also utilize the chat if you like. Either way works. This is being recorded, so if you have to drop off early, not an issue. It'll be up on YouTube probably within the next 3 to 4 days. But that's my housekeeping. Again, Invarosoft, Jamie Warner, pleased to have you. Take it away.
Really excited to be with you guys. I guess the start of 2020. Can't believe we're in another new decade. Amazing, isn't it? Awesome. Well, look, today's a great opportunity to find out a little bit more about Invarosoft, who we are, what we do, how it all works, etc. So we'll get stuck into the presentation. If you don't know, Invarosoft has built an ITSM customer experience platform. So we're basically like the front end to your ticketing system, and we'll tell you more about that in a second. And so in today's presentation, we'll be looking at giving you an overview of how this platform came to be, my background as an MSP owner as well, and we'll finish up with a demo, and then we'll have a Q&A to talk about. But of course, if you've got questions throughout, please put them in. I'm sure.
I have a quick question before you start. So
yeah, go for it.
ITSM, for those aren't familiar with that acronym.
So IT service management.
Okay.
So if you think of an ITSM tool is generally something that has ticketing, etc. in it. So in our industry, it tends to be called a PSA because it has CRM, other things in there. But so you can equally say PSA, customer experience platform.
Okay.
Very good. So I guess just a bit of background on who I am. I actually started an MSP way back in 2000 before they were actually called an MSP, of course. I think we were just an IT support business in those days. And so we've managed to grow that business. It's myself and my brother and sort of battled away to grow it over the last 20 years. I can't believe it's been 20, to over 45 staff, 4 locations. We manage 5,000 devices. We've won a few awards, which is really good. And through all of that experience, we ended up commercializing some technology internally and launched Invarosoft in 2017. So being an MSP has been my only experience. It has actually been my only full-time job, bearing in mind we started the MSP when I was 22. So very passionate about this space, and yeah, that's why I feel if anybody has any questions in regards to my experiences over those 20 years, we've seen all the changes, happy to share that as well. And certainly we've grown that business without acquisitions, which is usually a little bit unusual out there. When you tend to get to that size, there's usually a few bolt-ons, and we haven't done that. So happy to share more. So in terms of the problem that the Invarosoft platform solves, I think that's a really good place to start. So it was way back in 2009 that we had identified a few problems in our MSP. So when I go through these problems, have a think about whether they relate to you as an MSP, and I'll be interested to know. So we were getting far too many calls and email tickets, and so it was really frustrating in terms of productivity. No one was using the PSA portal, the web portal that we had for logging tickets. So a lot of them were coming through the phone. And when we were getting email tickets, we were often getting them with the wrong or poor information, because with email, obviously the user doesn't know what to tell you. So you end up getting the good old doozy of it's broken, and then you have to go through a whole arduous process to clarify what they actually meant, which of course is a waste of everybody's time. And it was a waste of our time. Way back then. The next one was that we were having clients complaining about ticket visibility. They were getting frustrated at the email back and forth to resolve tickets, and based on what I just said before. And we were finding there was no real easy way to broadcast alert messages and news and those sorts of things, especially when there's outages, and if email's out, you can't email them. So having a facility to do that was becoming a bit of an issue. We were also wasting a lot of engineer time triaging and categorizing tickets. So when they come in on email, you've obviously got to go through the PSA and say ticket type, subtype, and redirect it where it needs to go. So there's incremental time being wasted there. And I guess I should say at the time that we were experiencing this, we were getting about 70 to 80 tickets a day. These days, we get about 110 to 150 tickets a day as we've grown, but it was quite a lot of effort. But still, even if you're getting less tickets, just the effort around pushing it to where it needs to go is time consuming. We were having to chase clients for information and approvals, and clients for calling for tickets that we actually thought they probably could solve themselves if they had some instructions or self-service opportunity at their fingertips.
Well, aren't most problems solved with a reboot anyway?
Exactly, and that's the point. So if you just had something pop up and say, can you just reboot and then do it after, then probably, we call it now the unnecessary tickets logged. And there's absolutely no denying that as MSPs, we get quite I'm putting it around 10% of tickets where it probably didn't need to be logged in the first place. So yeah, it's funny in retrospect, but not funny at the time.
No, I agree.
So the last one was the fact we were really struggling with lots of competitors. The city we're in has 5 million people, so there's lots of MSPs, lots of IT providers, and we were finding that was a difficulty, and therefore it was hard to win net new support deals. And we were also finding from more the customer experience perspective that mouse pads and stickers and these sorts of things really wasn't a great way of having that customer experience with your client. So if you think about when you onboard a client, what do they get from you? You might do an initial meeting, you might send out some mouse pads, therefore you are really just a sticker or something on their desk that they may or may not be able to find, and a voice at the end of the phone, and the odd consulting visit that you have, and the odd engineer that pops around to do something. So really, it's sort of an invisible service, and all of these things were going through our minds at the time. And so what we decided to do was look at our stack of software, and we identified that email or support at was an area that we could improve. And so what we decided to do was replace email support with an app. And what we ended up building is a one pane of glass app to replace support at, and as I said before, becomes the front end of your PSA and ticketing tool. And what we realized was that we'd kind of created the fourth MSP online support channel. So if you think about how you normally get support, you've got phone, email, web portal, and as the predominant one. And as you can see there, what we tend to find when we speak to MSPs is that phone and email is close, about 45% each, and then it drops off into oblivion of the web portal. And that's pretty much the dynamic. So as you look at those stats, have a think about what your inbound ticketing as a percentage looks like. Are you getting 80% over the phone and 20% over email, or is it 80% email, 20% phone? Which way around is it? And the downside of phone is, of course, it's you spend a lot of time on the phone speaking to people. And if someone calls you up and says, "Oh, I've got the support issue," and it's a change request, something they could have just logged, and it wasn't urgent, then it's nice for them to get a good customer experience. But I'm sure as an engineer and a technical team, you've got better things to do, or more important things to do, I should say, in terms of outages or actual technical faults where you really do need to solve that problem. So phone in itself is a nice customer experience, but it is a bit of a time waster if you don't need to be on the phone for that particular call. And then email, as I said before, it is by far the most popular methodology for users to log tickets. And unfortunately, you don't get the right information. So it's really not adding any value whatsoever. And so what we've realized is that if you can replace email, so what I mean, support at, as the front end experience with an app, you can actually drive utilization of the app to 50, 60%. We get 60% of those tickets logged through the app. And now suddenly you're getting all this information, the stack of information that you didn't have before. We kind of like to see our app as the engineer's best friend, enabling you to get a host of information, which I'll talk about in a second. And so the net result for our MSP is that we really reduced a lot of tickets using self-service bots and just more automation and these sorts of things. We reduced a lot of calls because people realize, oh, I don't need to call because I know where to go to log the ticket. You find you will actually get phone calls. They actually don't know how else to email you even. And so you get a reduction there in phone calls significantly, which is great. We were finally getting the correct ticket information. So our engineers were sitting there with a smile on their face because finally we're getting type, subtype, user, screenshots, all this information, the diagnostics of the device all coming through. So to help resolve that ticket faster. The customer experience, which is CX, and the customer satisfaction scores, which is your CSAT, they went way up. Clients loved it and certainly helped us get more referrals, which helps us grow. And then, of course, we realized that a tool like this, because it is used by the client, is a really good differentiator. And we realized that, I guess, around the time we sort of first built it and launched it, we realized, well, we've got to talk about this because it's a great differentiator. And lo and behold, it was. And it's the reason that we were able to grow our MSP from 3 mil to 8.5 mil in 5 years. It's one of the reasons and one of the big reasons. Obviously, it's not the only one. But we've done that organically. And we did that because we innovated. And I think the key point about innovation that I want to leave with those that are watching this webinar is that what we inadvertently had done was create a purple cow for ourselves. So if you haven't heard the concept Purple Cow by Seth Godin, then you should check out the book. Doug, have you heard of Purple Cow and the book?
No, actually, I have not.
Yeah, so look, it's basically, if you've ever heard of the 4 Ps of marketing: price, product, promotion, and actually the fourth one is a D, distribution. I don't know how that works, but anyway, I think it's place. They call it place. Is this guy Seth Godin's a marketing expert, and years ago he was like, in this day and age of marketing, there's so many messages, there's so much information coming towards us. And in fact, in the old days, it used to be those with the best marketing budget or the best marketing process. He was sort of referencing large entities with huge marketing budgets. Think of, pharmaceuticals and all those sorts of things, clothing or whatever. So he was saying, well, in the past, the biggest budget won the day. But in this new world where there's just so much messaging, so many ways you can get these messages online to you, it's actually the person that stands out the most, the person that's the business that's the most remarkable that actually wins. And so the concept is that if you were driving past a paddock of cows and you just saw a paddock of cows, and you're like, oh yeah, cool, some cows, it's not a head turner. But if you drove past that paddock of cows and there was one purple cow standing there, you'd be like, whoa, 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 what's going on there? Right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, you'd want to stop and take a selfie.
Yeah, exactly.
With a purple cow.
Deal with that. And hopefully you own a selfie stick to make the shot look better. But the point is that as you hear that, think about your MSP. Think about when you turn up to a new sales meeting and you're presenting your services, and you must understand that they are probably getting presentations from at least 1 or 2 others. It's usually 3. So you're going to be competing against 2 people. And when you sit there and you go through your support proposal and you explain how great your systems are and how great your staff are and your experience with Microsoft Office 365 and all this sort of stuff, do you really think the other guys are saying anything different? Do you think you're saying anything different? And that's the point of a purple cow. And that's where we realized, and I have to say at the time we were differentiating, I didn't quite understand the concept of purple cow. It was a few years later that I realized what I'd inadvertently done was that when you use a product like Invarosoft or a platform like us to front end your MSP, it is a modern experience for the customer. And so you can really talk about how you can make their lives easier. It's something they get to use as part of your services, and it makes their life a lot easier. So when you go through that in a sales process, it stands out. So this is the reason our MSP, our conversion of support deals is actually 47% of the deals we look at, which is really high. Normally it's 20 to 30%, and that's usually acceptable. And I think the reason is because we've worked really hard over that decade to differentiate ourselves. And lay out our proposal a certain way. Now, Invarosoft partners actually get access to the layout of my proposal. We even help you with video training around how to sell good, better, best and packaging and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot that you can do to stand out. But certainly if you're not talking about an app, so think about my MSP. I go in, I talk about this great app. I talk about push notifications and approvals and all these great things we can do and self-service and so on and so forth. And the fact that we can customize it for them. And then the other two companies sort of talk about the standard stuff. Like, which one do you think they're going to remember? Which one do you think they're going to feel more comfortable with? Now, do you convert every deal? Of course you don't. As I said, that's our stat, 47%. But you convert more. And here's the key point, is that a lot of MSPs are running around town trying to get more leads. Now, if you're not getting any leads, then yes, you need to get leads. But let's say you're getting leads. The key to growth is actually converting more leads than just getting more leads. So if you're getting 4 leads and you're only converting 1 out of 4, and then you can pump that up to 2 out of 4, you're literally going to double the size of your growth just by increasing conversion. So there's a lot that goes into that, and it's one aspect of the product you've got to think about. And to give you an example, if you haven't heard of Electric, have you heard of them, Doug? Electric?
No, I have not heard of them either.
Yeah, so and it was an MSP I was speaking to in New York, I have to say, that told me about them. So I wasn't aware until probably a year and a bit ago. And so Electric.ai is just an MSP. It is ridiculous. And if you can see down there in the text, they've raised, it's actually more now, I think they've raised 35 million US dollars for their MSP. Why have they raised $35 million? They're not even building technology to sell it as a normal SaaS vendor. They have just raised it to be an innovative MSP. And so what he's raised that money to do is because they've got a MSP powered by automation and what they actually say is human assisted bots, which I find hilarious. But they are building, I have to say, credit where credit's due, a fantastic platform to fully automate and integrate the process. So think about when they sign up a client, they sign up clients with specific software that they might be using, usually SaaS stuff. And imagine the software that they've built able to sort of automate the process of setting up new users and doing all those sorts of things. So that's their go-to-market. But fundamentally, they're an MSP. And what he actually said is that, and this is the CEO talking, he's obviously a young guy, is that, well, look, he characterized the IT status quo as expensive, slow, and reactive. All right. And then he went on to say that in the probably a couple of years since they first launched, they've already got 300 customers. This was a year ago, so who knows what they've got now. And they're managing over 10,000 endpoints. So let's just let that one sink in for a second. My MSP, which is called eNerds, is been around for 20 years and has 5,000 devices under management. These guys raised $35 million, built some great technology, and they've signed up 300 customers, probably 500, 600 by now, and they're managing a lot of people. Now, that's explosive growth. There are not many MSPs that are doing that, and of course, there's not many MSPs that have a war chest of that much money either. But the point is that they differentiated themselves. They have gone to market with a purple cow to explain how they do it differently. Hence his first comment. So you have to understand in this new world that interacting with a customer just over email and phone is not a modern experience. It is not an experience that matches their personal lives in terms of an app economy. Like they're sitting there on their phones, watching Netflix, ordering something online, doing whatever they need to do, all on their phone. Then they speak to their IT support company that is supposed to know everything about technology, and the only way to communicate with them predominantly is via phone and email. And that's where these guys have taken a big dollop of venture capital. They've applied some wonderful technology, and then they've added both of those together with a great marketing spin, and they're scaling out of sight. Now, is it a major risk to everybody? It could be. It may not be initially because our services are quite sticky, but look at the growth and potentially look at our growth compared to your growth as an MSP, given that we've done it organically. So to prove the point, I was at a SaaS conference last year, and you had the CEO of HubSpot. And if you know anything about HubSpot, they're just an amazing business. They're worth well over $1 billion. and their revenue's just through the roof, and they only charge small amounts of money for their software. But he was basically saying, to build a great company today, you need a customer experience better than the competition. The next one I went to at the same event was the CEO of Zendesk, who's a character, I have to say. He was trying to recruit people out of the crowd. But he basically said part of differentiating is providing a fantastic customer experience. And I think we would all understand that Zendesk has a really great, if you've ever looked at it, great customer experience as well. So think about your business. Think about how that customer experience looks. Think about how you're selling yourself. Do you have a purple cow? You don't necessarily need our platform. Obviously, I'd love for you to do that. But if you, but it could be anything that is your purple cow. I have to say pricing and packaging is really one way you can stand out in a crowd. If you do it in an intuitive, easy to understand way, you understand the concept of good, better, best, then that is one way. But certainly having a tool or a platform, something that can help you deliver a better customer experience and use it as a purple cow is what they're all talking about. And that's how they're able to scale, because that's what people want in this modern age. And so I guess what we're trying to do at Invarosoft is to consumerize the IT support experience so that they're getting something that they're used to in their normal lives. Does that make sense, Doug?
It makes perfect sense. And I kind of go back to it. I know within individual software applications, a lot of times there's like a support button that you can click, and it will, generate a ticket with log files and send that off to the support team at the vendor. But, trying to expect obviously you don't want your users going to the vendors, you want your users going to you. So this kind of consolidates that and makes it more of a global experience instead of within each individual application where there may or may not be a button or something that allows you to kind of do that. Because, in my experience of software, even, MSP 360, there's a button that says support, and our support people love it when you click that button and fill out some basic information, then it sends off to log files, because now they've got all the information right there. They can start working the ticket versus, like you said, the email back and forth. If you just get an email saying, hey, this isn't working. This computer's not backing up. Why is that? It's like, well, I need some information in order to figure that out.
Yeah.
So it makes absolute perfect sense from where I'm sitting.
Awesome. Yeah, look, and it's a funny one that it hasn't been addressed earlier, to be honest. And I think there's more and more entrants coming into this ITSM customer experience space. But certainly the bigger companies, as you've just seen, are really scaling, focusing on this type of thing. So I guess the question you've got to ask yourself is, what is your purple cow? As I said before, it could be something else, but have a think about that as one of the gold nuggets that you take away from this presentation, is that how are you differentiating? When you sit in that sales meeting, what are you saying that's different? How do you present? Do you have a bound copy of the presentation in a folder with a plastic cover and a black backing? Do you put that inside a branded folder with your business card and some pens? And then do you hand that to them and sort of stand out? What are you actually doing to stand out as an MSP? And as I say, Invarosoft and our platform is what we've been doing for a decade. So let's get into it and actually show you the Invarosoft platform. So I'll actually toggle out of here.
So I know there was a brief acronym there, ITSP. Is that the IT support bot?
IT support panel, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, IT support panel. Okay, because I know there was bots thrown in there somewhere.
There's too many. There's bots. There's a lot going on. So I'll do my best to explain that to you, and I'll try and do that. Bearing in mind, everybody watching this webinar is time poor. I'll give it my best shot of doing that quickly. So as you can see here, you've got the application. I'll just move this webinar thing out of the way. So basically, this is the app on the desktop, and you've got to think about what we've created here, as I said before, as that one pane of glass experience for the customer. So as you can see, you've got your the task tray icon down here, and you've got the icon on the desktop as well. So suddenly now, it can also be your icon if you want to. We've got a white label version. We've found the IT button gets the highest utilization because that's what people really remember. And if you want to get the right information each time, you want high utilization, but either way. So easy to find, one click, you're in. And so when you deploy the product, there's lots of ways to authenticate users. We make it super easy. You can do it in a day. And they're ready to go. So basically they come in here, and this is the one pane of glass to get access to all of your IT services, and you can customize the branding, these buttons, the news, and these apps per client, per user, per agent. And that's one of the probably unsung heroes of our platform, is that ability to do things at a very granular level. If one team or company needs XYZ, you can quickly whip up a different look and feel and allocate that to a client or a user, easy peasy. So the concept here is that, of course, you want them to be able to log tickets. You want them to be able to see tickets. We've got really buttons that should be one clicking into all different places to get them where they need to go. And so when you look at logging a ticket, they come in here, they can do a simple ticket. So just log a ticket, 2 clicks, that's ticket type, subtype. They can take a screenshot if they want to. Easy peasy, screenshot gets attached. And they just type in what they want and log a ticket. So that's an example of something super simple. So when you think about it compared to email, they've still got to open an email, figure out what to say in the subject line, and then they've got to write something in the body. So it's about the same as email. And so that's why you don't actually get more tickets. You just get them shifted over to our platform. And so easy peasy to log a ticket. But let's just go a step further. Let's say, oh, actually, no, I want to attach a self-service bot to a particular ticket type to stop them from doing something. So you can attach a bot, so the bot pops up, and you can have messaging in here. So think about, and I'll show you another one in a second, think about an Office 365 outage. You can have a message that pops up saying, hey, we know there's an outage, click here to read the article. Or it could just be, look, this printer issue, you could solve it by these 3 steps, or you could read this document. And so what this self-service bot's enabling you to do is just have some basic instructions in here, or you can link it off to your IT Glue or whatever documentation platform you're using and really start to turn your IT Glue into this self-service bot. Now, if you don't have a documentation engine, or if you just want to whip up a document quickly in our platform, then you can actually build that in our platform, and it'll go to a beautiful branded web page where they can read that quick article that you've written for them. So super easy. And what we do here with the self-service bot is that we scan, if they say, yes, close my ticket. So does this answer your question? Yes, close my ticket. Then we'll have a tally for you of bot solved tickets. So you get to start to see that benefit, and you'll start to notice it incrementally in reduction of tickets. So we really feel that this should be able to cut down about 5 to 10% of those unnecessary tickets logged where they just didn't need to do it.
Okay.
Now let's just say, oh, sorry.
I do have a quick question, because when you bring up the word bot, a lot of people start thinking, oh, is there artificial intelligence involved? And is there any AI involvement here?
The first step of this product is HI, which we like to call human intelligence. Mm-hmm. So the good news here is that these bots are set up manually. So you can get in there, set up 5, 6, 7 bots super fast, super easy, and have them all operating on, because usually there is about that many tickets types that you know are the ones that are ripe for being able to just stop them from logging those tickets. So you don't have to do it on 100 different ticket types. You do it on the ones that are obviously the ones that are the most common. So easy to set. Where the product is going though, and it's a good question, is that we will have a chat bot. So I've been a big proponent out there in the market to say, I don't think chat support in and of itself works. The reason is because the average size MSP is about 5 to 15 staff. Nobody's got enough capacity to actually do a good job of chat support. And as soon as someone tries to chat with you and you're not there, they'll never use it again. So I think the future is a chat bot. And so we will be building in 2020 a AI/ML powered chat bot. So you'll be able to just put it as a button under the log support ticket button, and they'll be able to start chatting away with the bot. So that's where I see the market going. But in the first instance, we can cut out a lot of tickets just with these manual self-service bots. So it's embedded self-service. Think of it that way.
Yep.
And so if I say no, continue with the ticket, this is also an example of a custom form. So for those that are listening, you'd be sitting there thinking, well, I do have a problem with new user requests where I've got some convoluted Word document and I've had to create 50 of them for every client. It's because they've all got slightly different requirements, and then they've got to fill that in, which they never do a good job of, every time they need to request a new user setup. So this is an opportunity with our custom forms attached to ticket types and to clients, that you can get that correct information the first time. You can make the questions compulsory. You can put the placeholder words in there. You can have help information pop up if you want to, date selections, all that sort of stuff, and all branded, so super easy to use. And so now suddenly you're getting all that correct information coming through the app itself, which is fantastic. And so don't just think of it as new user requests. It could be a phone system thing where you know that if they're logging a ticket for a phone system, you need to know which handset they have or something like that. So you might want to just have 2 or 1 additional question pop up as a form that they have to fill in to give you that info. And so when you get the ticket, it's like, oh my God, now I've got the screenshot, I've got the ticket type, subtype, forms, I've got all this information I need. So that's an example of some of the other things there. And I should say at this point is that when a person logs a ticket, you get the diagnostic information of the device in every ticket. And in Q1 this year, we'll be releasing even more advanced features to scan the diagnostics and actually start to propose what the problem might be, depending on what it is, to really help you be smarter and faster and have all of that information at your fingertips to solve that ticket. So the next part that you can see here is that there's an approval fit part of the product as well. So you can actually set up an approval rule per client, per ticket type. So let's say it is a new user request and you don't want every Joe Blow in the business. Maybe the main contact doesn't want everyone to give the ability to do that. You can have an approval setting there. So when they go to log a ticket, the user can click that button and go, oh, okay, so once you complete logging the ticket, it'll be sent for approval, and the nominated company contacts listed below will have to click that. So you'll actually get an email. The approvers will get an email. You can have unlimited approvers. This is the client will get those emails. And so you can set it so the ticket only logs to you once it's approved, or it comes through to you straight away in an unapproved status. So all really easy. This is an example, where is it, of the email that comes through. So they'll get an email. This is the user of the client will get an email saying, hey, you need to approve this ticket or not approve it. And they can do that accordingly. So really easy.
Will they get a push notification in the app as well?
Not yet. So they'll get an email,
Okay.
but that is where the product will be going as well. One of the things that we will be launching in Q1, so it's a good one to talk about now, is outbound chat. So the ability to go into our portal and actually push, which will pop up a push notification, and you can actually start chatting to them and solve that ticket. And once it's solved, you can log it as a ticket into your PSA at the same time. And that's where a lot of the off-the-shelf products that might do that, they're just not integrating properly. And they don't look good either. A lot of the RMM tools have done a pretty poor job of how those pop-ups look. They kind of freak users out and make them feel like it's some sort of spyware or whatever on the computer. So,
okay, makes sense.
Yeah, quite interesting. So the approval rules really have a think about if any of your clients do need to approve tickets. Just streamline that whole process and makes you look more innovative because you can actually provide them with something that will do that. So there's a bit of an insight into the actual just logging tickets and all the different things you can do there. And so I'll cancel out of that. And now let's look at the button. So you've logged a ticket, and what we also built was a branded ticket portal. So you can actually set up a button. All you need to do is set up the button, and we'll auto-authenticate users into your PSA, and they'll be able to see their tickets. You can set up a user as a manager, and so when the manager is set up, they will see all the tickets for the company. And so now you've got a beautiful portal, all fully branded, that they can come in, they can see when you put in a note in the PSA, they'll see the note on their end. They put a note in, you'll see the note. So now that user's just taken away the darkness. And the stat that we've got, it would have to be about 1% or less of MSPs give their clients access to the PSA portal. So we didn't build a ticket portal right at the start because we assumed everybody was using it, and nobody uses it. And the reason is because it doesn't look great, it's not intuitive, and it's just too hard to get people in there. So when you think about the Invarosoft platform, you think about the fact they've just gone to IT button, they can either log a ticket or they can look at their tickets. It's just one click away, and they're in there and they can do whatever they need to do. So really powerful ability to do what you need to do. You can search closed tickets, you can search by quarter and all that sort of jazz. And so we'll keep innovating and iterating that over time. But one of the key features of our product to take away the darkness from the user. The other cool thing we're doing is that we're doing single sign-on buttons with other vendors. So if you're thinking about what we're trying to do here as that one pane of glass, that is the end user's best friend, and of course your best friend by giving you the right information each time, is that you want to have buttons that auto-authenticate users into other people's portals. So those that are listening, I assume some of you are using IT Glue, maybe BrightGauge, maybe Connect Booster, as you can see there, or Bigger Brains, and all these different portals, and they all have client-facing URLs and pages which would add value to the client if you could actually show it to them. But of course, that turns into a bit of a nightmare, because how do you standardize a URL across 1,000 or 500 desktops and make it easy for that user to actually find it? And that's where the value comes in, is that you can put the link there, and then what we've been doing is creating integration. So this is the Connect Booster. So now you can say to those users, if you use Connect Booster, and we also do Wise Pay by WiseSync. So if you use either of those two, is that there's no excuse that they haven't seen your invoice, because the button to see where the invoices are is right there on the app. So the whole idea is to help you get paid faster and to take away that darkness, as I say, and take away the excuses. So really innovative stuff, and we've got more and more integrations coming over this next year, and we'll keep working on those, and we'll keep making it easier so that you can get access to what you need to do. So you can have contact us buttons, you can have feedback buttons in here. We're actually launching in Q1, Q2, our own MPS, CSAT, and survey tool, so that it's all in one, and that's where Doug will be using the power of push notifications and pop-ups, etc., to deliver that methodology. Often you don't get high response rates from email because we're all getting bombarded with too much email, but if you can do a one-click smiley face scenario that pops up on their screen, and to kind of get rid of it, they have to click one of the faces, then you're going to get much higher utilization. So we're really trying to take what the normal way of doing it and adding more value and taking it to the next level. So that's super exciting as well. And here is an example of what we can also do for you, is that, so when I talked about when you're sitting in front of a client and actually doing a presentation, one of the things we do is we actually, at the end of the presentation, is that we show them what it would look like to work with our MSP. Do you do that? Do you actually kind of give them a visual of what it would look like and how it would actually work? So we actually play this cartoon video that we did a decade ago, and we can actually build for you if you want to as an Invarosoft partner. It's quite affordable, and we do the full thing where you can have all your services in here. You can pick the character, pick the accent. Obviously, you might not want my cool Australian/Kiwi accent, and have your hours of operation, all your services, and then explain to those users how they can actually log a ticket, so that if it's urgent, they can call or log the ticket through the app. And so if you call, there's the phone number. If you want to use the app, there it is. And we'll build this video for you with all of your buttons or your branding, whatever you want there, so that now you can have a link to the button in the app like I did. What we're also going to be doing is linking it automatically. When you deploy the software, it'll have a pop-up, and they'll say, welcome to our new support, and it'll link through to a templated document page, as you saw before, our documentation portal. And this is where you can have the video, but all included. So when you deploy our agent, it auto trains them on how to use it and makes it super easy, so you don't have to do anything. But I have to say, doing a video like this is what makes you stand out as an MSP. And if you don't have a cartoon video about how to use your services, how do we think about that? Because think about when they walk away from the sales meeting with us, they're like, oh my God, they've got this app, they've got these videos, these guys are super innovative, they're all over it. And then the other two guys come in and present their services and they haven't got anything like that. It's like, well, which one would you pick? You know, think about that. So it's really interesting, and something that we can do for you. So effectively, in terms of the actual portal itself, you've got an easy to use management portal in here to get access to all this sort of stuff. This is where you can configure the appearances. You can come in, I won't go through it all, but ultimately you come in, configure an appearance, pick the colors that you want. You can see there, you can change the IT logo, you can change the background color, you can do whatever you want. So really easy to do, and you can have a default appearance across all the clients, and then if a certain client wants their own branding, you can do that and assign it to them. It works the same way with the buttons, where you come in here and you can create your button collection. You can move them around if you want to. You can see that changing on the left. So you can do whatever you want, super easy. This is where you create your forms. Super easy to do that as well. So I think this is the one I showed you before. So really easy, adding questions. You can see all the different types of questions. So that's super easy. And what will be coming with these forms is conditional questions as well. So if they select that, then this question pops up. So we've got that in mind. You've got the approvals that we talked about before. So you can actually set up approval rules per client, and you can have all these different approvers if you want to submit it in an unapproved status, etc. One of the cool things you've got is the news, which is on the app as well. So you can flick news articles and link them off to blogs. We're releasing an RSS feed, so you'll be able to link it to your blog, so you're not having to double handle the news coming in here, and just have that visibility of what you're doing, what your client wins, awards you've done, or if it's instructions or advice around ransomware and those sorts of things, the latest crypto. You can have all of that in there. You can have unlimited news articles. So think about news collection, sorry. So you can have a default one across all clients, or if a certain clients want their own news, you could do that as well. You've got push notification, one of our most powerful features. You've got the ability now here, this is what they look like, to send. This is our dialogue one. We also have a toast message, which is pretty nice looking. You can send these branded push notifications. Think about outages. Think about cutting through that noise of email. Think about the user going, oh, okay, there's an outage, fine. Here's a link to read more about it. Could be a scheduled downtime. Onboarding, which is what we're saying there, is amazing. So, the app gets rolled out, you send this push notification, welcome to our services. Push notifications are absolutely a really powerful feature of the product, and you can do that easily in here. Create your message and pick your color and time frame, all that sort of stuff. Create templates, create groups, very easy. You got social links at the bottom of the app as well. So if you want to have your links there to the app, they're at the bottom. And one of the cool features we've launched, really cool, is sentiment analysis. So now what you can actually do is scan the tickets coming through for keywords. So think about words like ASAP or I'm not happy or hurry up. It could be anything. One of our partners are actually thinking, oh, this would be good to actually alert you engineers internally when tickets come in that relate to them. So you can actually set up rules so that when we detect certain keywords, you'll get an email notifying them. And so the problem with CSAT tools and NPS tools, all that feedback tools, is that it's after the fact. It's like I've got angry or I'm really happy, and it's generally one or the other. But what this does is enables you to get ahead of the curve and actually figure out if a client's getting frustrated and escalate a ticket and accordingly, which is really cool. So you can actually, in setting up a sentiment analysis, you can actually go, okay, what do I want to change that ticket type to now that I've detected it? So you can change the priority and can change it so it moves itself around your workflow, which is really, really cool. Does that make sense, Doug?
Yeah, it is a lot, but I was going to ask, you showed the customer experience part, but then obviously this is the back end where the MSP goes in and sets everything up. And, all the different rules. And like you said, you can do different sentiments and all these different types of things to help route, make sure things are going to the right places. And you've talked about integration in with PSA as well. So, I know that's, if you've got a PSA, you don't have to change your PSA. I'm assuming, as long as you have the integration for it.
Correct. So we're doing the front end. So we're doing Autotask ConnectWise at the moment. We have a PSA agnostic version, so anyone can use this product. But we are working. The next one coming out will be Kaseya BMS, Tigerpaw, Synchro MSP. So we're going to be working really hard to do APIs with everybody that's out there, so that your PSA is covered. But if in the meantime you want to use our PSA agnostic version, you can do that. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, one of the cool things as well, and that you got to think about. So think about a bot popping up as a bot and as a self-service, embedded self-service process. And that self-service instruction says, you know what, to solve this ticket, you can actually go down to Apps Panel, which is a place where you can put the client's apps so that it makes your IT support panel very sticky, and it shows value that you're adding. It makes their lives easier to find where they need to go, because apps these days tend to be network apps or browser apps, and so the desktop's getting quite messy. So that's what solves that. You can have 2 rows of 6 apps, but these apps can actually launch URL, command line, RDS and Citrix, or app path lookup. So whatever you want to do, you can actually have that coming through there. So you got to get your mind ticking over about the cool things you can do with command line. So a lot of our MSP partners are putting in support tools in apps panel, and then you can link that with the self-service bots. So you've got bots helping with assisted automation, which is fantastic. So really one of the most powerful things about this product, and certainly beneficial. So get your mind ticking over on how you could use command line and support tools and other things to make life easier and solve things faster. And so that's what IT Apps Panel is. And you can set up collections per client, per user, whatever you want to do. And this is where you come in and set up the self-service bot. So you can create as many bots as you want to do, super easy to do that. And this is where you can have it as a blue bar only, or you can pop it up straight away in front of the user. So you can be subtle if you want to. And once you've created a bot, you can use our documentation engine to create documents or links to documents. So think about your IT Glue articles you may already have. You can have those links there, and that's where you then assign them to your bots. But Smart Engineer bots, really interesting. This was actually an idea that we had with IT Glue, Lewis and Nadir, and this is where you can actually have instructions and link to articles behind the scenes inside the ticket, assigned per client, per ticket type. So when it comes through, your engineer gets that information they need. So think about your level 1 techs. Think about where they may not know how to do things intuitively, or anyone that's new to the business, or if it's like a convoluted process to set up a new user, you can have all of the links to all of that information at their fingertips as the ticket's logged. So that's what the Smart Engineer bot's doing. And the whole idea is where the self-service bot's helping you reduce tickets, the Smart Engineer bot is helping you to actually solve those tickets faster. And so really powerful ability to get that correct information at your fingertips.
Okay, so it took me a sec to make that jump in terms of the Smart Engineer, but basically the user logs a ticket, and as it gets logged, based on what type it is and what rules you've set up here, it can go ahead and include all the information from your documentation platform on how to complete that request.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. You put your text in there, and then you put your article links in there, and it's done. So it's super easy.
And the customer doesn't see that.
No, they don't. No.
Yeah. Okay.
It comes through, in the behind the scenes in the ticket. So
cool.
Fantastic in that sense. So that's pretty much it. In terms of deployment, as I said before, we have one. It's very easy. I'll just talk about that quickly, just to tie it off. Is that we just have one agent that you download, and as part of it. So we just keep updating that agent. So the agent itself self-updates. When we bring out new features, we put it through thorough testing, and then we release updates to the agents. Probably every couple of months that happens. And so you get all those updates. So you just need to set up your RMM. You put in a client activation code. Each client gets a client activation code. So this is how our product works, where you're able to assign things at a client down to user level. You roll it out with your RMM tool, and the app is green and it's ready to go. When the user logs their first ticket, they can actually, it sends them an email just to confirm their identity, and they're in. So that's the first way of doing it. So you can deploy it, it's ready to go, and they can use the product. The next one you can do is, of course, use our AD Harvester. So we have an AD Harvester that you can download. It'll auto match the users, synchronize it, and auto authenticate them straight away. You can also come into our portal, easy peasy if you want to, and actually just assign users. Our product works on terminal services and Citrix because it stores the information at a profile level, not on the device itself. And so really, really fantastic way of being able to manage it and easy to deploy. And we can provide all of the assistance and training you need to do that. So that's a little bit about deployment.
Okay, so another quick question, in terms of how apps work. Once it's deployed, if you go in here into the dashboard, the MSP dashboard and you make changes, do those changes get pushed out automatically, or do you have to like reinstall the agent, rebuild it, and then reinstall it?
Oh no, it just goes. It goes automatically. So we could
Okay.
do something there just quickly, just to prove the point. Let's say we want to move that one above. Right. So we've just moved that ticket view button. So I'll save the collection. I'll open it quickly and show you that it hasn't changed yet. What you need to do, it needs to obviously talk back to the server. So we'll hit refresh. We'll wait a few seconds for it to do its thing. And what actually happens is that it pulls back and actually gets that information, and it should be done. So you can now see that ticket view button is on the top. So it's super fast. We have it going every, I think it's 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay.
Where it updates itself. And so, but you can force it by refreshing it like I did then. So it's really fast and easy. Yeah.
Okay. And so all of the, and the cloud infrastructure, right? This is all kind of, it's somewhat software as a service, because, you know, you're doing all of this in the cloud, and then it gets pushed down to the client once they have the agent installed. So.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, think about it. It's not an RMM tool. It's a customer experience platform, but it is operating in the same sort of way. So we're a SaaS provider. It's hosted in AWS in the US. And as we scale the business, of course, we'll be looking at adding more regions around the world to satisfy our partners. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the platform itself. And really, I think tying it back into the sort of demo as we go through that, I guess you've got to ask yourself, if you're feeling the same pain our MSP was, and you want to reduce tickets and calls, you want to get the correct ticket information each time and make your life easier for engineers, you want to get an improved customer experience, which is measured by getting better CSAT scores and NPS scores. You want to differentiate yourself by winning more support deals, and you want to get the support proposal template that's helped us scale our business to the size of what we've done, and our good, better, best instructions. Then you should check us out and book a demo. And as it says there, your new bot awaits your command. When you book a demo, you actually get a 30-day free trial. So super easy. And all you need to do is go to Invarosoft.com and get that information. Pricing for the product is quite affordable. So it starts at about $149 a month and goes up from there. So it's pretty affordable to get a full platform front-ending your MSP. It's based on however many agents that you have. So it starts at 250 agents, 500 agents, 1,000 agents, etc. So we constantly have some, well, not all the time, but we do have great promotions going. So if anybody's watching this particular webinar and wants to find out more, just let us know that you found us on this particular webinar. Put that in the subject line, and we'll make sure that you get a cracking deal. But when you think about the return on investment of something like this, it's positioned as, I guess, with a lot of the other tools that you have out there. But the difference is that we're the front end, and we give you an opportunity to genuinely sign up a new client. So think about it. IT Glue. Is it really going to help you sign up a new client? Because documentation is an expectation. Is your PSA going to help you sign up a new client? Well, they're not going to choose you because of that, because again, it's behind the scenes. They're powerful products. You need them, but they're not going to help you convert a deal. So you think about your PSA, your RMM, your documentation, all that sort of stuff. They're expected. A client expects you to have that stuff because you're an MSP. Of course, you need the tools. Whereas when you give them something on the front end, they're like, ooh, this is pretty cool. When you differentiate using it that way in your proposals, then it helps you convert a deal. So when you got to get in your mind, it's like, well, if I present this and I win $1,000 a month deal and I'm only paying $150, $250 a month, there's a 5x ROI, 10x ROI, whatever it is, straight away. So that's what you've got to be thinking. Most MSPs don't think that way because, and fair enough, I'm probably a little unusual as an MSP owner as not being super technical, but that's the reality of it. Anything you can do to differentiate, if you win those deals and scale faster, then the ROI of the Invarosoft platform is second to none. But we've tried to make it affordable, so that is not a barrier of entry.
Yeah, the pricing, the pricing sounds pretty good. Especially the fact that it's not strictly like per user; it's for a pack of agents. I think helps break it down a little bit more.
Yeah, correct. And I guess another way of saying is that we sort of started around the 60 cents mark, and then depending on volume, we'll go down from there. So,
Yeah. Yep.
And I think RMM tools tend to be between $1 and, depending on what you're doing, $4 per user per month just for that. So, yeah.
So another a question that I have, and I didn't ask it earlier, but you talked about how this has helped your MSP grow, and the fact that you went from basically 70 tickets, I think you said, before you started this, and now you're up to, I think you said like 120 or something tickets a day.
Yeah.
Have you been able to work that same volume of tickets with about the same number of staff?
Not quite, but I do. You've got to think about it as an incremental, because there's just that's almost doubling the size of your business, going from 70 to 100, right?
Yeah.
So it can't do it all through automation. I mean, I wish we could, and I think that's actually, yeah, I think it's the reason why most MSPs don't scale, because they're really hard businesses to scale. So again, anyone listening, I feel your pain. It's hard. It's not that easy. But what it did do was make us get more. It does make you get more out of less. So I don't know what the stat is there in terms of staff, but I do know what it is in terms of time. And so if you think about wasting 5 minutes per ticket, and you can do the calculation. So look, the people listening, think about how many tickets you get a month. Think about how many come over email where you don't get the right information. Then times that by, let's say, about 5 minutes of admin wasted time. It could be a back and forth email to them. It could be a categorized version of the ticket. It could be trying to find the information in IT Glue. So if you take 5 minutes away from every ticket over a year, it's huge.
Yeah, it is.
So I would say when we first launched it, we probably saved half a person to a person. And it probably took a couple of months to get going as the users all started using it. But it can be massive. And I do think that unless you're getting the correct information coming through, it's really hard to scale an MSP, because what you want to do is then put you do things like auto allocation and load balancing in tickets. You want to do things like, workflow rules to route it to the right departments, etc. So you can't do any of that automatically if it comes in on email, because they're not giving you any coherent information to run those rules off. So usually ticketing systems work for ticket type, subtype, etc. So you need to get that information. Otherwise, how do you get smarter and so on? And I think getting smarter is probably a key point. I know we're towards the end of this, is that it's 2020, guys. Like, it's 2020. And if you're still doing email and phone, I honestly think to myself, like, guys, it's like we're past that now. Whether it's our tool or another tool, I don't care which tool. I'd love it to be our tool. But you've got to do something better than that, right? And that's what we're attempting to solve, is to help the MSP community be more modern in their approach. We're going to keep reinvesting into R&D so that we can build things like we talked about before, like the AI chatbot, all part of the product, CSAT, NPS, everything built in, self-service bots, automation. We'll just keep working hard on that. Outbound chat, I think that's going to be a killer feature coming out in Q1. So being able to sort of chat to the user and solve issues quickly there, because that's one of the bugbears, Doug, is chasing users down, saying, like, they'll log a ticket and then the engineer will call them back and go, hello, and then they're not there. And it's like, well, how many times can the engineer keep calling them back? And so
I know. I know how that works.
Yeah. So imagine like being able to have a chat message popped up there, and then they get there and they can start chatting to you, and it pops up on your end, letting you know. So I mean, it's a new world, and I feel like the MSP market, we're focused a lot on the back end, and some of our stuff, of course, is still back end stuff, but the front end with the customers being somewhat neglected. And I do think that a modern approach, if you think about what a modern MSP looks like in 2020 and beyond, it's more about apps, bots, and automation in our view than it is sticking with email.
Great. Jamie, thank you so much. This has been very informative. I know for me, as well as for the viewers. So we'll post information on this webinar up on mspvoice.com here within a couple of days, as well as the recording. And if anybody has any questions, be sure to let us know.
Perfect. Yeah, and thanks for having me, Doug. And to everybody listening, please have a successful 2020. Wish you all the best, and I really appreciate your time.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.